I don't know who needs to hear this, but you have been over identifying with your trauma and we need to talk about it. And I am in no way minimizing what you experience. As someone who has experienced an extensive amount of trauma, I want to tell you how I have overcome many of the things that I've experienced, not just trauma, but any type of event that left some type of attachment, memory, or painful residue in my life. So a lot of times what we do as human beings in general is we have an experience, whether that's trauma, a relationship, betrayal, some type of thing that happens to us. And because the Lord has wired our brains to be meaning making machines, like basically we assign a story, we assign a narrative to every experience that we have. And so when something happens to us, many times we don't experience it separate from ourselves. We experience it as ourselves. So when we are assigning meaning to something, for example, if you were rejected, you would say, oh, no one likes me. That's the story you're telling yourself as a result of that. And so as a result of the story, as a result of the interpretation of the event, you now have this subconscious belief, this agreement, right? It's an agreement that you are unworthy, that you are unlikable. So now you're navigating the world with this agreement subconsciously. And the world, through confirmation bias, is going to give you back exactly what you believe. And so as a result, you don't feel accepted in any place. But on the other side of it, if you do not do that, if you give it the accurate meaning, you can have an experience where you say, I was rejected. But the story that you're telling yourself is that it's misalignment. So it's not about you as an individual, as your core person, but rather a moment or an experience that happened that showed misalignment. Because what we do is we say something happened to me, so therefore I am what happened to me. And that is not true. Even if we go back to the Bible, the word of God says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you, right? God gave us identity before we entered this world. So all of the experiences that we have are simply additions to or simply experiences that may help us. One of the other things that I talked about yesterday on Instagram is that we often attribute the strengths that we gain from experiencing trauma. So maybe you became resilient. But I want to take the power that we give to trauma away from it. The strengths that you gained as a result of experiencing some type of trauma were yours. They were latent, waiting to be activated. So the identity that you have, it had strengths that already accompanied it, but you experienced trauma that may have activated it sooner, maybe prematurely, or maybe in a way that you didn't know was going to happen. So what we do is when we are over-identifying with the traumatic experience, the event, the situation, whatever, we attribute what we gain from it to that thing instead of saying, oh, you know what, this was in me in the beginning. This was always in me, except this experience activated and brought it forward. Even with the negative things that may have come up, they're brain adaptations to overwhelm at the moment you had the experience. So you may have become, let's say, people pleasing, but that was a result of, being in a situation where you had to learn how to navigate uncertainty. So your brain adaptation was like, okay, well, let me survive this moment by adapting in this way. But that is still something we're giving power to trauma, okay? Instead of owning the fact that, okay, this situation happened, let's re-identify what's really happening. So for me, what I do is when God brings something to my awareness, I go back to the memory. I go back to the moment. And with the awareness that I have now, meaning that I have grown, I have healed some, I have a higher level of understanding as it relates to the situation, I go back and I say, you know what? This moment, I was heartbroken. This hurt me terribly. And at the time, I realized I had made an unconscious agreement by saying, because I was heartbroken, never gonna allow anyone to get close to me again. So fast forward, I'm like, okay, relationships are moving the way I think they should. What is happening? That pattern came to my awareness. So now I'm able to go back and say, you know what? I had that agreement. Let's break that agreement. Let's break that agreement. And it no longer has power over me. So we have agreements that we make with these experiences because of the story that we tell it. All right, I'm going to show you guys a quick diagram. So one of the things that I do when I am thinking about a situation, I always just draw what I see. So a lot of times we don't understand that our trauma is not us. We are here. This is you, your core self, the version of you that God created before you were formed in your mother's womb. All of life, we have events, we have experiences, we have relationships, we have trauma, we might have betrayals or whatever. Every human being, though, when we have an event, we assign meaning to it, which is an interpretation, an assignment, a narrative, okay, attached to the event. It is flexible, not fixed, meaning that we can always change this. This is what I was talking about when I went back. I said, I'm no longer going to assign meaning to that misalignment. It's not a heartbreak, it's a misalignment. It hurt. Yes, I processed the pain, but it no longer defines me. So I had to break the agreement by changing the meaning of what that meant to me, okay? So this interpretation can evolve with awareness, healing, maturity, faith, nervous system regulation. I can't see that down there. Perspective, context, and capacity. If you're familiar with my human interaction model, you know that I've been talking about this. But I wanted to show you that you are not this. You have the power to change this, which changes how this impacts this. Okay? Follow for more. I'm going to be talking more about this as the Lord leads me, because I want us to take our power back from the trauma and the experiences that the enemy wants to use against us. God bless you.